It's Friday. You said, well, wait a minute, Miss Weber, you're wearing the same clothes you were wearing on Wednesday. Well, because I'm recording this on Wednesday and you're watching it on Friday. Today's Friday, September 18th, 2020, and you've made it to Development of Civilizations class. For today's lesson, you have clicked on Friday, September 20th, to see our learning target, agenda, success criteria, and resource links for the day. Our learning target today says, I can determine how historians measure time. We're going to be able to define BC and AD. We're going to be able to explain the difference between BC, BCE, and AD, CE, and we're going to be able to read a timeline accurately. Our agenda today includes completing each of the 3 steps that are linked here to the agenda resource links. Step 1, remember we've been doing this since Wednesday. You're going to go back to your Schoology page and find that green puzzle piece that's titled Bell Work DOC 918. Click that puzzle piece to complete the short assignment. Secondly, you're going to complete the Ed puzzle. This Ed puzzle about reading a timeline will give you a little bit of schema or background knowledge about what I'll be asking you to do in that timeline practice worksheet. Right now, you're watching the video lesson. I want to read to you a short article about measuring time to help build on that background knowledge or that schema that you learned from your Ed puzzle. Follow along with me as I read aloud. Calendars. Historians rely on calendars or dating systems to measure time. Cultures throughout the world have developed different calendars based on important events in their history. Western nations begin their calendar on the year in which Jesus was thought to have been born. The Jewish calendar begins about 3,760 years before the Christian calendar. This is the time when Jewish tradition says the world was created. Muslims date their calendar from the time their first leader, Muhammad, left the city of Makkah for Medina. This was AD 622 in the Christian calendar. The dates in this book are based on the Western calendar. We live, side note, in the Western calendar. In the Western calendar, the years before the birth of Jesus are known as BC, or before Christ. The years after are called AD, or Anno Domini. This phrase comes from the Latin language and means in the year of the Lord. Dating events. To date events before the birth of Christ, or BC, historians count backwards from AD. 1. There is no year 0. The year before AD 1 is 1 BC. Notice that AD is written before the date, while BC is written following the date. Therefore, a date in the 100 years before the birth of Christ lies between 100 BC and AD 1. To date events after the birth of Christ, or AD, historians count forward. Starting at AD 1, a date in the first 100 years after the birth of Christ is between AD 1 and AD 100. Historians divide history into blocks of time known as periods or eras. For example, a period of 10 years is also called a decade. A period of 100 years is known as a century. Centuries are grouped into longer time periods, which are given names. The first of these long periods is called prehistory. Prehistory refers to the time before people developed writing, about 5,500 years ago. This is followed by the period known as ancient history, ending in AD 500, or circa, about 500. Historians call the next 1,000 years the Middle Ages, or the medieval period from 1500. Modern history begins and continues to the present day. In this book, you will study the history of the world from prehistory to the beginning of modern period. In this course, we are studying BC or BCE. All that prehistory, right here where it says the first of these long periods is called prehistory. Prehistory refers to the time before people developed writing. That is what this course is about, what we'll be learning about all year. So we asked the question, what is a timeline? Well, which came first, the American Civil War or World War II? Let's talk about it even more specific. What came first, you being born or your guardian being born? Your grown-up being born. Did the train come before or after the invention of the airplane? In studying the past, historians focus on chronology, or the order of dates in which events happened. You might be wondering how to make sense of a flow, dates, and events, and an easy way to use or make a timeline. A timeline is a diagram that shows the order of events within a period of time. Most timelines are divided into sections in which the years are evenly spaced. In some cases, however, a spread of time may be too long to show all of the years. In even spaces to save space, a period of time may be omitted from the timeline. Where this happens, a slanted or jagged line appears on a timeline to show a break or the even spacing of events. For example, the timeline above shows a break between 1500 BC and 800 BC. Right here, 1500, there's a break. This is too long of a time period to show in a diagram. So they need to show that there's a break in between these time periods. A timeline also labels events. Each event on the timeline appears beside the date when the event took place. Sometimes events and their dates are shown on a single timeline. In other cases, two or more lines are stacked one on top of the other. These are called multi-level timelines. They help you compare events in different places at certain periods of time. For example, the multi-level timeline above shows events in 3 ancient civilizations from 2500 BC to 650 BC. The skill, reading a timeline, on page 711 will help you learn to work with these timelines. That is going to be your next assignment. If you go back to your Schoology page, you'll notice step 4, reading a timeline practice. Click on this link and it will direct you to make a copy. Once you make a copy, you may say, holy cow, Miss Weber, this is really tiny. How can I read this? Underneath the insert, you'll see a magnifying glass. Click on that magnifying glass and it will increase your size. That's a little too big. I'm going back to 100, just right. For your assignment today, make sure that you read each of the items on this worksheet, including the random events in history timeline, and answer each question by typing in the box provided. When you're completed, click the share button to send it to Miss Weber at sarah.weber@campbell.kyschools.us. Once you type in my first name, it should pop up all the way. If not, feel free to hop back on the Google Meet and ask me what my email address is. Once you've done that, all you need to click is done, and you are finished with your Development of Civilizations course today. The Google Meet is open. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll be here to help. Thank you, and I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Get some rest, get outside, it's supposed to be gorgeous, and be nice to everybody. It's important. Have a good day.